What happens when an old hobby and a forgotten piece of family history collide in a cloud of dust, static, and scientific curiosity? That's what episode 12 of Ruri Rocks delivers. A full-on, hands-on adventure that'll make you want to dig through your own attic for mysterious boxes and precious rocks. In this recap, we're breaking down every twist, insight, and emotional beat, from Ruri's discovery of her grandpa's crystal radio to the final, static-laced triumph. So, grab your own sense of curiosity, because we're diving straight into the episode where memories, science, and family come together like never before. We kick off right after the school day ends, with the familiar banter of Ruri's crew as they all say their goodbyes. Ruri, always full of energy, wonders about what to do once she gets home. Priority number one being ice cream. Things seem ordinary until talk turns to the Suo Shrine Summer Festival, a local tradition that floods everyone with nostalgia. Ruri's reminded that her grandpa took her there years ago, and she even climbed the sacred boulder, a wild childhood memory she can't quite recall. The gentle teasing stirs up the episode's big themed memories, and the way objects can resurrect the past. Grandpa becomes the main focus as someone brings up that he used to collect rocks and kept all sorts of junk in the storage room. Ruri's excitement spikes. Could those rocks still be stashed away? She grabs the keys and dives into the dusty storage, on the hunt for quartz or perhaps something even rarer. What she finds is more than just dust and cobwebs. She stumbles upon an old, mysterious box labeled Tanigawa, her grandfather's surname. Inside the box are 2 rocks, some copper wire, a coil, and, piquing everyone's curiosity, an unidentified card. Nobody's quite sure what the box or the rocks are for, but the speculation itself brings the crew together. Ruri's interests may have evolved from jewelry and makeup to rocks and minerals, but the excitement she feels over the find is universal, shared by her friends. As they poke and prod, one of the parts rolls away, and the group worries they may have broken something. That's when Naji-san, their local science genius, enters the scene and delivers an explanation. What they've unearthed is a homemade crystal radio, not the kind you'd buy in stores, but one-hand built, probably just after World War II. These radios, Naji tells them, used to come as magazine freebies. Old school science nostalgia at its finest. In classic crystal radio fashion, there's no need for batteries. The radio waves themselves supply the power. That alone blows the minds of the group. Nagi breaks down the science G. The antenna picks up the waves, the coil and condenser isolate the right frequency, and the mineral detector converts those waves into sound. When a mineral's used, hey, that's why it's called a crystal radio. Ruri's eager to listen, but the next roadblock appears. Normal earphones won't work. They need a special, high impedance, crystal earphone, and who's got one handy? Nagi, of course. Introducing the Rochelle Salt earphone, a quirky but crucial blast from the past, vital for soaking up weak signals that most modern headphones could never handle. Naji offers up a rundown on the science behind these. From the chemical harvesting of tartrate crystals in wine barrels to the governmental push for wine prine production just to make these critical listening components during wartime. The episode even spotlights the kind of technical know-how required to create crystal radios and their accessories, mixing hands-on learning with historical trivia and fun illustrations. Ruri and her friends try their hand at reconstructing the radio. Enameled wire, sandpaper, safety pins, brass plates. The pile of parts grows as they work through assembly. But all that effort delivers a familiar defeat. Static silence, not music or voices. The circuit looks ugly, and everyone's stumped. Did they miss a step? Naji suggests a problem with the detector. The rocks Ruri found are pegmatite, a pretty mineral, but not usable for detecting radio signals. She dives into Mineralogy 101, explaining how minerals used as detectors tend to have a metallic luster, unlike the pegmatite. They're sent on a quest near the shrine to find minerals like galena, pyrite, chalcopyrite, and zincite. 2. Right about now, the gang starts to feel the struggle. Some doubt sneaks in. Maybe Grandpa gave up long ago, maybe the old project is a bust. But evidence hints otherwise. Someone digs up the card and identifies it as a QSL card. Hard proof that Grandpa had gotten the radio to work and received actual broadcasts. These cards aren't just collectibles. They're official confirmations that radio listeners once tuned in successfully from specific spots. It's a touching moment. Ruri realizes her grandpa really finished the project, and a feeling of connection crosses generations. A burst of fresh energy propels Ruri and her friends to keep trying. They pick through other rocks: garnet, manganese, zincite, sapphire, swapping out minerals and sometimes getting faint static, sometimes ghostly voices. When everything else fails, they swap in a modern germanium diode, a semiconductor with superb sensitivity, courtesy of Imari-san. At last, victory. The radio works. Music or voices drift into their ears, decades after Grandpa first heard those signals. But Ruri isn't satisfied with just a modern fix. She wants to recreate Grandpa's original crystal radio experience, detector rock and all. Imari and Arado explain it isn't stable, but if radio waves were stronger, the old mineral might work. Solution: go somewhere higher, perhaps the very spot Grandpa chose, Suo Shrine, by the sacred boulder. The journey closes its circle as Ruri and friends trek to the shrine, meeting up with Nagi and Imari for guidance. Local lore adds magic, megalith worship, and the feeling gods might dwell in giant stones ties the natural world to the technological experiment. At the boulder, the group tries one last time. The scene is quietly profound. Memories flood in, nostalgia buzzes, radio waves swirl in the night air. Ruri senses her grandpa's presence, almost as if the radio is a living connection across time. They reflect on how today's IC transportation cards also derive energy from radio waves. Yet another proof that the fundamentals of Grandpa's radio live on in modern life. Ruri and her friends, connected in both spirit and technology, end their journey on a note of old and new together. So, what did episode 12 accomplish? Ruri Rocks masterfully blends the excitement of scientific adventure with heartfelt themes of family, memory, and discovery. From troubleshooting circuits to chasing local folklore, from tears of frustration to the final static E breakthrough. This episode is all about perseverance, teamwork, and finding wonder in the ordinary. Thanks for sticking with this recap right to the end. If you've ever tried to fix something old, built a DIY project, or just love stories about memory and connection, drop a comment below and let me know your favorite Crystal Radio moment. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives and episode breakdowns. Your support keeps the static away and the stories flowing. See ya next time on the channel.